Well, welcome back everybody. So the Canik Mete, this is one of the latest offerings from them, and I think I've said the name wrong probably about 1,000 times already. It's the Mete, not the Meta like I kept calling it. But there's a lot of really good stuff going on here, especially that trigger, which is what has turned a lot of people into fans of the Canik. And at the price this thing is coming in at, it's pretty much peanut butter for everybody. All right, well, like I said, the Mete here is one of the latest offerings from Canik, and it comes in a couple of different flavors, whether you want the SFT, the SFX. The SFX is the longer version of it, basically. So when it comes to this specific model, it comes with some really good stuff on it, and a few things that the previous generation before this one, like the TP9 SFX that I did a video on, I'll leave that link below for you, just didn't have. All right, the Canik Mete, for those of you that love to know what's in the box, we are going to go through that. So if you guys are interested in any of that stuff you see here today or what we're talking about in this video, I will leave links over at the build list for you to check out. And if you want to know like the detailed specs on length, width, height, all that stuff, I'm going to list those right here. But let's get going with what comes in the box. So obviously we're going to get the Mete pistol, 20 round magazine, and then we're going to get right here, we will get our 18 round mag, a speed loader, a little plastic holster. I think it's injection molded. I don't think it's Kydex. It'll get you started out there. You get a trigger lock, chamber flag. You're going to get one optic plate in there, and it is the RMSC pattern. Pretty cool here up in the lid. So you're gonna have your basic warranty card, manual, all that stuff in there. In this section, we'll get a small cleaning kit. You're going to get a punch tool, which is actually pretty nice. Other back strap, and you get this little fella right here. This is not a keychain, so this is actually the driver that you can use, and all of the small tools are up in there, and all of the screws are up in there as well. So you can kind of see right there. It comes with what you need to mount your optic. Pretty cool little thing right there. I know it's probably not everybody's thing, but I thought it was actually pretty neat that that was included. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the box out of the way, and we'll continue. All right, back at it. So let's go ahead and run through this thing, starting with magazines. You're going to get an 18 rounder and you're going to get this 20 rounder. This is a Metgar branded magazine made for Canik. They make nice stuff. Metgar is a well-respected magazine company, and this obviously has the base plate that gives you that 20 round capacity. Good stuff there. So going over the actual pistol itself, we'll go over this thing from magwell to muzzle, or from the feeder to the spitter, as I like to say, starting with that magwell. Now, I'm a huge fan of magwells. Anytime I get one on the factory setup, I like it. So they've done a good job here. Very nicely funneled in there all the way around. No hard edges. The screws in the bottom. It's made out of metal. It's everything I expect and want when magwells come to market. Not too big, just the right size for my big hands to get a hold of that pinky and just finish off that frame to give me a really solid grip on it. Coming up from there, we're gonna have that good texture, okay? That nice sandpaper texture. Not quite as aggressive as the M&P, more like a Polymer 80 right here. Canik logo, interchangeable back strap with kind of a more Glock or CZ factory style texture on it. Same thing on the opposite side and on the front right there. Very square on the front. I kind of like that. I like it when it's more square in the front as compared to rounded. Nice areas up in here you'll see for your hand and your meat to get into, so you're not accidentally activating any of the mag release or stop slide release. Very good knurling on the magazine release. It is a single-sided one. We'll come back to the trigger in a minute. Moving forward, you can see we have a nice double undercut there on that trigger guard, and the trigger guard is amply long. So with like the M&Ps, I kind of start slipping over it because it is cut at such a fast angle on those, but this one gives me the trigger guard I dig. Basic line work up on the front of the trigger guard, 3 slots of pick size rail for you to use your lights, lasers, or bayonets for. Coming up to the rest of the top, we'll have some more of that texture right there for a reference point. Takedown lever, slide release, which is pretty much a carbon copy of the Walther stuff as well. So overall, the frame is good. Talking about upstairs on the slide, rear serrations, front serrations, Canik logo. We have our serrated back plate with our striker indicator, which is not only visual, but tactile. You can feel it. 3-dot white sights. They are white dot only, no night sight. They are built to be rackable one-handed sights. There are, try and get you some good light on that. Up in the front right there, they are serrated. They do co-witness with the RMSC sized optics. And since they are built with that ledge forward and serrations, meant to be racked for one-handed drills. We got a loaded chamber indicator up here, pretty basic extractor, Mete logo, and that is pretty much it for the slide. All right, sorry about that cut, so let's go ahead and get this thing broke down. So pretty basic procedure, clear it out, pull the trigger, pull back about 1/8 of an inch, pull down on both sides of that takedown lever, and then you're just gonna rock it forward to about right there and pull it apart. As far as the slide goes, basic stuff. Guide rod, spring assembly is metal, basic barrel, nothing crazy, nothing to write home about, all pretty standard stuff. Up in the top of the slide here, you'll see your striker block safety right there, your striker lug, and then this edge that kind of ramps up right there, which contacts the trigger bar here, which we'll take a good look at now. So on that trigger bar, you'll see you kind of have two vertical extensions right there. Now the inboard one is the one that's going to disengage the striker block safety as it's pulled. The outboard one here, the smaller one, is going to be the part that rides on that slide and gets pushed down like that during the cycle of operation. So right here, turn this around, that is going to be your sear surface right there. So as you pull the trigger back, it's going to be allowed to drop down and let the striker forward. As that slide reciprocates, it's going to hit that low portion here, and you can watch the trigger start the reset process once it moves out of the way. I'll get you a little bit better light right here. You'll see that spring pop back up, and what it's doing is it's blocking the sear surface from going back down so it can catch the lug and reset that trigger so you can go back to work out there. Overall, pretty cool. We'll go ahead and throw this thing back together and we will do some pull tests on it. And this thing is pretty light. So we'll do 3 pulls unless I mess up and get something stupid. So right here. All right, so 4 pounds and 2 ounces, pretty solid. Really solid. And we'll check the reset and everything here in a second up close. Okay, so very consistent, 4 pounds, 2 ounces again. And it is super short on the reset, which we'll show here in a second. That one was a little bit lower. That one popped in at 4 pounds. So talking about the overall trigger itself, if you look in here, you'll see that the trigger shoe safety does go all the way flush, except for a little tiny portion right there at the top. Overall, that trigger shoe is very wide and does feel quite nice. So talking about the take-up, you're gonna hit a nice defined wall right there. And then it's just an immediate short break. Now check out this reset right here. That's short. Hard wall break. So that is really good for a factory setup. Well, let's go ahead and talk about how this thing performed, what I like, what I don't like, and of course, how much this thing costs. We have got nothing but hard choices in the market today. Between this and a ton of the other stuff that has come out over the past couple years, we've got some great options. So when it comes to the Caniks, specifically these, the TP9 series, or now the Mete series, they have a phenomenal trigger in them. It's a direct copy of the Walther PPQ PDP style trigger, and it's just absolutely great like you saw up close. And that is probably one of the best parts about this thing. The other good stuff about this is the ergonomics of it are great. We got good stippling. We got that stippling in all of the places we want it, and ergonomically, it is just very, very nicely for me. The best part of the new addition on this thing for me is gonna be the magwell. I love having magwells on things because of the way it just kind of grips my hand like that. It just makes me perform a little bit better, especially doing some reloads, maybe when you're moving around, doing some stuff out there, or maybe you're just tired or sweaty or wet. A magwell really does help, and it just gives me a little bit of added grip on the pistol, even though this one is a little bit bigger. It just gives my pinky a place to rest, and it really helps me out on the range. All right, so when it comes to that performance with the Canik Mete out on the range, I didn't have an opportunity to shoot any self-defense ammo because I'm completely out of it at this point. I put the regular cheap ammo through it, the 115, the 124. I think I had some Bellum, some MagTech. I think I had some Cellular and Bellot. I think I had several different ones out there. Put it through it. Didn't have any malfunctions, any problems at all. One of the cool things I noticed about this, and I wished I would have caught it on video, and it's kind of crazy because my camera buddy was sitting right next to me filming some stuff. I was filming some stuff. I took a couple of one-handed shots from like 75 yards, hitting a 2/3 size IPSC steel target. Pretty good for me. Now, I'm not the best person out there, so the accuracy that I noticed out of this, which has to do not only with the size, but the ergonomics of it, was absolutely great for me out on the range. And I had zero issues as far as malfunctions or it running any of that ammo. Now, I know some people have said that the original ones that had like a tighter spring in them or a harder spring up in the recoil assembly here, they liked that plus P ammo or that more high pressure kind of NATO style ammo. The newer stuff that they are importing now has a little bit of a lighter spring from my understanding, so it's gonna run on that basic cheap stuff that me and you are all gonna be using out on the range. So other than all of the rest of the good stuff on here, from the sights to the ergonomics, the texture, we've got our reference points up front, we got multiple slot rails here, serrations, we got a lot of good stuff here. The one thing I would change about this, the optics mounting platform. Now, it's set up for the RMSC, right, or the RMR-CC, the smaller optic, the micro red dots for these. And it will co-witness with these factory sights. When it comes to this thing, it's a full-size pistol. Now, if this was a sub or a micro, I would be totally into that. But when it comes to a full-size pistol, when I'm gonna be using this out on the range, I'm not worried about adding a full-size optic to it. And to me, I would prefer to have a full-size optic mount on there. And I know the slide kind of narrows towards the top here, and you know, the full-size optics would hang off a little bit. But at the same time, I would prefer full-size optic on a full-size pistol. Maybe it's just me. I don't know about you. Let me know in the comments. But to me, that is the really only one thing I would change with this thing. Besides maybe just do that same grip, I almost said gripple, same stipple or factory texture all the way around it rather than kind of changing it up on the back strap, because quite frankly, that kind of sandpaper texture I think is just the best pattern out there, rather than that kind of just one dot every 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch or whatever they're doing. So those are really the only two things that I would change when it comes to the Mete itself. It gave me a lot that I didn't really expect for a pistol in this price point that runs as good as this and has proved itself as accurate as this thing. Now, speaking about that price point, the pound of flesh, what are we going to pay for this version of the Mete? The MSRP on that is $519, which means in stores, you're gonna find it for probably, I would say at least 10% less than that. So I've seen these things, not specifically this version of it because this is the first version I had and it's a lender, same guy that lent me the TP9 SFX. He's a Canik freak at this point. But you can probably find it about 10% cheaper in store. So in all reality, probably about $450, maybe $465. That is a pretty aggressive price for what you're getting out of this package. And overall, I really do enjoy the Caniks, all of the ones I've tested, from the SC, the TP9 SFX, and now the Mete. Now the other versions, the SFX, they're a little bit longer, a little bigger, and you're gonna pay, I wanna say it was like 30 or 40 bucks more, something like that. So if you're into that, you can check them out. Now, is there anything else you should look for? Yes, if you have a TP9 SFX, those magazines with the base plates on them for the 22 rounds or 20 rounders there will not work with the magwell on the Mete. I tried them for my buddy's TP9 SFX. They were the factory magazines with the factory extensions on them, and they would not fit in there. They were just ever so slightly too big to fit in the magwell, even though to the eye they looked exactly the same size. There was just enough a difference in size that they wouldn't work. So a little bit of Dremel work, you can get it done, but just be aware of that. You're not gonna be able to use your TP9 SFX 20 round mags in the Mete. And now for the bad news. I have to give this thing back. So this is a loaner from my buddy Troy. Huge thank you to him for letting me borrow this one and the TP9 SFX, but kind of sad to see it go, and I'll likely end up picking one up for long-term testing for the channel. Well, that is what I've got for you guys all today. Make sure you get subbed up, get belled up. If you like what's going on here, smash that like button. If you don't like what's going on here, I don't know, hit that down button like 4 times and see what happens on the 4th attempt there. Leave me a comment. What's your experience with Canik? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And why do you like it or not like it? Because I'm kind of digging most of the stuff they are putting out. You guys get out there and have some fun on the range. If you want to check out any of that stuff that we looked at, I'll leave the links at the build list. You guys remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you guys on the next one.